Hey all, here, OSMVTextrews.com. You're watching our super retro review of the Sharp TM-20. This is a mobile mail station device released way back in the late 1990s. And this is an interesting device because from Sharp, we tend to see more inexpensive PDAs, but actually this isn't a PDA at all. It's, again, a mobile mail station. It doesn't have many features like address books or mobile applications like Paint or games, but instead it only has a basic memo pad. And again, the main selling point is the ability for you to use this as a mobile mail client for you to see mail messages and then to send mail messages directly from your palm, which was kind of interesting back then. Even in today's standards, mobile mail dedicated mail stations are inclusive of the Peak, which is a QWERTY keyboard-like mail station. It requires a monthly subscription fee, and the same thing applies here. Sharp actually charged $10 per month for you to use this device, and it's a wireless version that you could use again to communicate and get mail messages. But it wasn't super wireless in the sense that you could just take it anywhere with you. You had to have access to a telephone, but you didn't actually have to plug in this device into the modem or actually connect this to the telephone. The connection between this device and a land phone is actually a wireless operation. So it wirelessly hooks up to a phone, and then it uses Ethernet to actually connect to the web and then get your email messages, including HTML files, which is kind of interesting. The interesting thing about the TM-20 was back then it wasn't very expensive, coming in at a $120 price tag. But in today's standards, if you go to Amazon.com, this device still is valued at $90, which is quite expensive. I assume it's because of collector's value. Design-wise, it's very similar to some very basic Nokia communicators with a clamshell design, a large LCD display, and a QWERTY keyboard. And again, you have some pretty discreet packaging that looks pretty dramatic with the black and red finish on here. And this is some stuff from Amazon.com, which says send and receive email with an ordinary modem. And to actually get the device to connect to your phone, you basically dial the number on your phone, and then you wirelessly put the device next to the phone, and it's going to automatically connect by the press of one button, and then you're good to go, and you can start communicating messages up to 4,000 characters long. And the keyboard, again, is in QWERTY layout, and HTML files are supported. Some pros that Amazon listed was the fact that it works with any telephone wirelessly, no cables or connectors, and it has doesn't need a internet or computer to actually access the email stuff. You just need to have access to a telephone, which is pretty cool. It's also inexpensive. Cons are the fact that it includes a monthly fee, which can get pretty expensive over time, and the fact it has limited memory and not expandable, and also the fact that, again, only 4,000 characters long, so not suited for more business-oriented documentations. So taking a look at this device, I believe this is actually something that's like new in condition, which is kind of interesting. One of our viewers sent this in. Easy access to email from almost any phone worldwide, which is pretty cool. We actually haven't seen one of these before, so this is interesting for us as well. Again, it says 1998. 16 megabytes of RAM, Windows 95, Windows 98, or NT 4.0, 100% IBM compatible, 16 megabytes of RAM, which is tiny, 8 megabytes of free hard drive space, and it includes a 3.5-inch disk drive for you to actually install the software, and then just some stuff on the back, how to use it. You dial this number, 1-800-POCKET-TM, hold the device next to the phone wirelessly, and then it's automatically going to connect to, again, your email, which is interesting. It doesn't require the Ethernet port, but just your phone port. So, again, it can get pretty expensive, systems like this, very similar to the Earthlink email client, the email station that we took a look at a few months ago. And the same thing again with Peak. They require a monthly fee, and the problem with that is if you plan on using this for, say, 2 years, it's going to start adding up really fast. But perhaps just as a device to use once or twice on the road, it's actually a pretty good deal back in the day. So again, looking at the design, it's pretty interesting. It's quite bulky. It's extremely heavy, but it's also very interesting. We'll take a look at that in a second. In the box, we have, I believe, unopened original documentation from the Sharp PC interface software, which uses a floppy disk. I haven't seen one of these in quite some time. And there's also the port for you to connect it to your PC, not using a USB port, but using this serial connector, which you can just tell how old this thing is. Very interesting. Important documentation, which isn't really that important. Registration card. There is Mail Vault, which is actually a case they're selling for this device, I guess. There's also documentation. It's in monochrome black and white, how to use it. There's also some quick start guides and warranty information, blah, blah, blah. Let's take a look at the device. So again, the design, it's pretty discreet. It comes in this nice blue slash grayish finish, you can see on the top here are an array of buttons for you to see when you're connected to the internet, when you're not, like start, finish, send, and receive. And this is one button that you press to actually connect the device wirelessly to a phone for you to actually start communicating. And there's also a Pocket Mail logo. On the back, there is a speaker, and this kind of strange way of rotating it. You can see I'm not really sure if this is actually a speaker, but it looks like a speaker here, but I'm wondering why you can slide back and forth like this, which is kind of strange. There's your phone number you have to call, which is located conveniently on the back. The battery port actually cannot be directly accessed. You have to actually slide to unlock and then unaccess it. It uses, again, 2 AA batteries, which is pretty energy efficient. And this is also the port where you have to flick out the antenna and then hook that up to your phone wirelessly, and it's going to actually connect, which is kind of interesting. I thought it was a satellite or a wireless transmitter at first, but it's not. It's a way of communicating with the phone, which is interesting. So sliding the device open, again, the hinge is actually pretty sturdy. It's pretty easy to use, and you have access to your QWERTY keyboard and the screen inside. It's a monochrome black and white screen, but you do have a backlight, which is pretty nice, and you can see that I can turn it on now. And to turn on the backlight, there is a separate dedicated backlight key, which has a blue hue to it. Overall, it works pretty well as far as screens go. For something that came out in the late 90s, I'm pretty impressed with the fact that it doesn't really glare. It's pretty matte, so you can even read it in direct sunlight, and the fact that it's actually not that bad in terms of resolution and again, readability. This keyboard itself, it is QWERTY, but like most of Sharp's keyboards, they are very untactile. They're very rubbery, and as a result, they don't have a very good click action to them. So when you're pressing on them, it's difficult to get much travel, and if you're typing really fast, you're going to be slowed down by the fact that the keyboard isn't as clicky or as tactile as most modern BlackBerry keyboards, for example, are. Still, it's a pretty wide and large keyboard, not very suited, I think, for one-handed usage because it's so wide, but perhaps if you're setting it down, more of a traditional keyboard might be a little bit more comfortable. And you can see that, let's just go enter, and this is basically the main menu. So you have access to some basic functionality. Again, for some reason, there's a lot of repeated functionality on this device. I don't think Sharp really thought that out. For example, there's this scroll up and down key, which is useful for when you're looking through the email messages and through different tabs, but you also have the same functionality on the bottom, the D-pad over here. So it's the same function being repeated, not really sure why, but again, you have some more menu keys on the top, just to add to that functionality. And again, the keyboard, you have a number row dedicated on the very top as well. And there's some second function and curl and art keys as well. So on the very top here, we have some compose, inbox, and outbox buttons, address, schedule, and preferences. Again, the really only multimedia PDA-like devices, like applications on here, are the memo pad and the address book scheduler. So if we look on, take a look at the memo pad, you can see that we typed out a small message, and it's pretty fast at saving messages, and you can still read them back pretty easily. The screen does a pretty nice job of, again, displaying that. If we press menu, I can actually edit this, and I can actually go back and forth using the D-pad and start editing it by typing a little bit more, and you can see that it works pretty well overall. The messages can be typed out, and it definitely does work. As far as the memo pad is concerned, it does the job, certainly. So let's go delete and done. It's going to store that and then go home. Again, the memory is very limited. So if you plan on using a lot of memo pads and then have a lot of different email conversations going on, it's going to get pretty clustered and it's not going to remember everything. So something that was a concern back then was the fact that it had limited memory. There's an address book on here as well. You can take a look at that. Phone numbers, basic information. There's also a schedule, which you can take a look at. It just displays your basic date. Again, it still says April 2003, so this is probably a sampler back in the day. Again, I think this is actually brand new, which is pretty interesting. And you can take a look at your times and your schedules. And there's also your preferences, which is your settings for the limit of characters, spam, inbox alert, sort by. And I haven't actually tried this with my email setting because I couldn't really get it to work, again, without having to call the company. I don't believe they still offer the service, unfortunately, so we couldn't test out the $10 per month fee because I'm not a pre-existing customer of this product, but still very interesting. I believe that it worked with very basic messages. I'm not sure if it would still work with today's email clients, but if you have one of these and you're still using them, tell us below in the conversation as a comment whether it still works with Gmail or modern day MSN or Yahoo or all those popular services that we still know today. And basically that's it as far as functionality is concerned. Nothing else. I can just scheduler, and that's it. And to go to the main screen, just press this main button and it takes you back into this very basic interface. It's composes of 6 icons: PC link, memory, search, and memo. And again, just to connect to the internet, or connect to your email, to your phone, just press this one key and it should do the trick. So overall, as far as design is concerned, the TM-20 seems to be pretty sturdy. It's a pretty easy to carry device. Again, pretty heavy as well. There's a headphone jack on the side for some reason, but there isn't really any music functionality, so not sure why they would include that. Certainly a very interesting design, very interesting product in general. The price, again, when it was first released, was quite inexpensive, which was good and very popular, and the battery life is certainly very strong. But again, quite expensive if you want to plan on using it for extended periods of time. Thanks for watching this very retro look back at the Sharp TM-20 mobile mail service device here at osmvtxreviews.com.